All right, get ready, because today we're going to be looking into the world of Martin Shkreli.
The Pharma Bro.
Yeah, the infamous Pharma Bro. You know him, right?
Yeah.
The guy who basically became public enemy #1 when he jacked up the price of Daraprim.
Astronomically.
But here on Grifter or Gifted,
Yeah.
we like to, dig a little deeper.
Right.
So was he some kind of visionary entrepreneur,
Mm.
shaking up a really stagnant industry?
Mm-hmm.
Or was he just a straight up heartless opportunist?
Yeah. Preying on the vulnerable.
Yeah. And to get to the bottom of this, we've got articles, we've got court documents, we've even gone down some Wikipedia rabbit holes.
Oh, yeah.
So,
It's going to be good.
yeah.
You know what's really interesting about Shkreli's story is it's not just about him or, one drug. It's it shines a light on
The whole system.
yeah, this really messed up ethical dilemma we've got in healthcare,
Yeah.
where we're trying to push for innovation, but we also need to make sure that people can actually afford the medications they need to live.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because his story kind of starts on this surprisingly personal note. Apparently his early interest in chemistry was all because a family member was dealing with really bad depression.
Wow.
The kind that wasn't responding to treatment.
So he's on a mission almost.
Yeah. And then things took a hard left turn somewhere.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It reminds you there's a person behind all of this, but somewhere along the way, that personal touch just gets lost.
Yeah. Overtaken by ambition.
Ruthless ambition.
Yeah. Speaking of ambition, his career just took off.
Yeah.
Landed at Kramer, Berkowitz and Company.
Big time.
Yeah. Quickly made a name for himself, recommending a short sell of a biotech stock.
Now, for the listeners who don't quite understand Wall Street lingo,
Yeah.
that basically means betting against a company.
Yeah.
Which, very risky, very high reward.
But also kind of controversial, right?
Hugely controversial.
Yeah. You're profiting off of a company failing.
Yeah, essentially. And I think this early success with short selling really foreshadowed how he would approach the pharmaceutical market later on.
A review.
Exactly. He wasn't afraid to play dirty to get what he wanted.
Yeah, no fear.
Push those ethical boundaries.
And push them. He did during his hedge fund days.
Mm-hmm.
He founded MSMB Capital Management and then later Retrofin, both of which were shrouded in controversy.
Oh, yeah.
Aggressive short-selling tactics, attracting attention, and then accusations of stock manipulation for personal gain.
Yeah. He was making a lot of enemies with his methods, especially using short selling to drive down stock prices before he would acquire companies.
Ruthless.
Some might say brilliant strategist, others manipulator.
Yeah.
This is where we really start to see the Pharma Bro persona taking shape.
Yeah, this is where Shkreli goes from Wall Street shark to household name, infamous or famous, depending on how you look at it.
Right.
He founds Turing Pharmaceuticals and acquires Daraprim, a drug that treats toxoplasmosis.
Now, we're not talking about a sniffle here.
No, this is serious stuff.
This is a parasitic infection that can be life-threatening, especially for people with compromised immune systems.
Yeah, and this is where the line between visionary and villain just gets so blurry. He raises the price of Daraprim by an unbelievable 5,000%.
Are you kidding?
$13 to $50 to $750 a pill overnight. He becomes the poster child for corporate greed.
Yeah, doctors, patients, politicians, everyone is outraged.
It was a PR nightmare.
Total disaster.
He claimed that, insurance companies would cover it so patient access wouldn't be affected.
Right.
But that argument just didn't fly.
No, not at all.
It just felt like pure profiteering off of a drug that people need to live.
Yeah. His defense was that he was exploiting a broken system.
Right.
That the pharmaceutical industry is full of these shady practices.
But he was the one who got caught.
Yeah. For a lot of people, though, this just cemented that image of him as this cold-hearted profiteer putting profits before people.
It wasn't just business, it was personal.
It felt personal.
Yeah, and then the legal troubles didn't end there. Securities fraud conviction completely separate from the Daraprim thing.
Like he couldn't help himself.
Couldn't stay out of trouble.
Always pushing the limits.
Yeah, and the judge in that case did not hold back.
Yeah.
Called out Shkreli's total lack of remorse, even pointed out that he bragged about wanting to raise the price of Daraprim even higher.
It's almost like a provocation.
Yeah, like he was playing the villain.
Yeah.
7 years in prison, a lifetime ban from the pharmaceutical industry.
Career over.
You'd think that might lead to some introspection, maybe a little regret.
Right. Some soul searching.
Not Shkreli.
The lifetime ban is huge, though. That is a rare and extreme punishment reserved for people who are considered a real threat to public health.
Yeah.
And even when the Supreme Court rejected his appeal, cementing all those consequences, he just remained defiant.
Never back down.
He seemed to almost enjoy the notoriety like he was playing the part of the bad boy.
Yeah, he leaned into it hard.
Mm-hmm.
taunting prosecutors online, getting himself kicked off Twitter for, being Shkreli. And who could forget that live stream of him just casually playing chess while waiting for his sentencing?
What?
Yeah.
Like he was above it all.
Yeah.
The rules didn't apply to him.
The ultimate power move.
Right.
So we've gone from a kid with a chemistry set to Wall Street whiz kid to Pharma Bro and now to, like, chess master.
What a journey.
Yeah, it's a wild ride, and we've only just scratched the surface.
And the question we're left with is, did Shkreli really believe he was some kind of visionary disrupting a broken system?
Yeah.
Or was he just a master manipulator, exploiting it for his own personal gain?
To figure that out, we need to go deeper.
Much deeper.
Look beyond the headlines and the outlandish persona.
Yeah.
We need to understand the impact of his actions, the ripple effects that go way beyond just the world of pharmaceuticals.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into it.
And one of the things that's just crazy to me is how easy it seemed for him to pull off that price hike with Daraprim.
I know, like, it just exposes this massive flaw in the whole U.S. pharmaceutical system.
Like, how is that even possible? For a drug to just skyrocket in price like that, literally overnight?
It's like something out of a movie.
Yeah, it's dystopia.
The truth is the U.S. system for drug pricing is just a mess.
Yeah.
It's so complex, and it's completely different from how other developed countries do it.
So different.
Like, you look at Canada, Europe, the government actually negotiates drug prices with the companies,
Right.
but not here.
So they can just charge whatever they want.
Pretty much it's a free market for life-saving medication.
It's terrifying.
It really is, and it basically encourages them to just focus on making as much profit as possible.
Yeah, and the companies always say it's because they need all that money for research and development to make new drugs.
That's their argument.
But then you see the profits and the lack of transparency.
And you start to wonder if patients are really their priority.
It just feels like a cash grab.
Totally. And that's exactly what Shkreli exploited, that lack of transparency.
Excuse the math.
But then you have those students from Sydney Grammar School. Those kids were amazing.
They synthesized Daraprim for, like, pennies.
Yeah, pennies on the dollar.
It's incredible. They proved that it doesn't have to be this way.
That a life-saving drug shouldn't cost a fortune.
Exactly. Their story completely dismantles Shkreli's narrative.
It's like they pulled back the curtain.
Yeah, and they showed that it's possible to make these drugs affordable.
And they made it look easy.
Right. It really makes you question the motives of these big pharma companies.
Like, are they really trying to help people, or are they just lining their pockets?
It's the million-dollar question.
Yeah, and this whole saga just forces us to face some really uncomfortable truths about healthcare and profit and just how much ambition plays a role.
It's a tangled web.
It is like, can we even find a balance between supporting innovation and making sure that everyone can afford the medications they need?
That's the challenge, isn't it?
Shkreli's story isn't just about him and his greed.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah, it's a symptom of a much bigger problem.
It's like he became a lightning rod for all the anger and frustration that people feel towards the whole industry.
Yeah, that feeling of being taken advantage of.
Your health is being held hostage.
By a system that's rigged.
Exactly. And that's why this issue is so politically charged.
For sure.
You see people on both sides demanding change. They want a system that actually puts patients first.
So if Shkreli is the villain in all of this, what's the solution?
That's the question, isn't it?
How do we fix a system that seems this broken?
There's no easy answer.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of effort from everyone involved.
Everyone.
The pharmaceutical companies, lawmakers, healthcare providers, and most importantly, the patients.
Yeah. We need to stop seeing this as an us versus them situation.
Exactly. Like, it's not a zero-sum game.
There has to be a way to make it work for everyone.
And it's a global issue, too. This isn't just happening in the U.S.
Yeah.
People all over the world are struggling to afford their meds.
So any solution has to consider the international impact.
We need to learn from other countries that have figured out how to make medications affordable without stopping innovation.
There are models out there.
Right. So Martin Shkreli, love him or hate him, he's made his mark on the pharmaceutical industry.
For sure.
He's a symbol, a cautionary tale about what happens when greed goes unchecked.
In a system that's supposed to be about our health and well-being.
And his story is a powerful reminder that profits should never come before patient care.
Yeah.
But it's also a reminder that we have a responsibility to hold those in power accountable.
We can't just sit back and let this happen.
No, we need to demand a healthcare system that reflects our values.
Okay, so after this deep dive into the world of Martin Shkreli, the Pharma Bro himself,
The one and only.
Have we answered our question?
Yeah.
Grifter or gifted?
I think it's tempting to just label him the villain and move on.
It would be easy.
Right. But it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah.
He's obviously intelligent. He gets finance. He understands the pharmaceutical industry.
For sure.
But he's also driven by this relentless ambition and a willingness to just completely disregard ethics.
It's like a recipe for disaster.
To the point of self-destruction.
Like he sabotaged himself.
Yeah, it's that mix of brilliance and recklessness that makes his story so fascinating.
And so disturbing.
Exactly.
It's almost like he's this character from a movie.
Larger than life.
Yeah, this persona that thrives on controversy.
But the consequences of his actions are very real.
They affected real people.
Absolutely, and those consequences, they go way beyond just his own life.
Yeah, his actions have really damaged the public's trust in the entire pharmaceutical industry.
They've sparked a huge conversation about the cost of medication.
A global conversation.
And it's a conversation we need to keep having.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What responsibility do drug companies have to make medications affordable?
Yeah, is profit always the bottom line?
Or should there be limits on how much they can charge for treatments that people need to literally survive?
Right. Are we okay with a system that allows some people to get rich while others are struggling to stay alive?
These are the questions we need to be asking ourselves as a society.
Shkreli's story is a wake-up call.
Yeah, it shows us what can happen when we just sit back and accept the way things are.
We need to demand more.
Transparency, accountability, ethical behavior from the people who have the power to affect our health.
It's our health.
Whether you see Shkreli as a villain or just a misguided visionary, his story forces us to ask, what kind of healthcare system do we really want?
And what are we willing to do to fight for it?
Exactly. This deep dive has been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Anger, disbelief.
Even a little morbid curiosity.
I know, right?
But it's a story that leaves you with more questions than answers.
And I think that's what makes it so valuable.
Yeah.
It forces you to think critically about healthcare, the role of government, the power of the pharmaceutical industry.
It's about so much more than just one guy.
It really is, and it stays with you.
It makes you uncomfortable.
It forces you to confront some truths about ourselves and the systems we're a part of.
And it's a reminder that even in a world that's obsessed with money and success,
There are lines we shouldn't cross.
ethical boundaries.
It's about more than just winning.
Yeah, so where does all of this leave us with Martin Shkreli?
Is he a grifter, a gifted manipulator?
Or a misunderstood visionary who got lost along the way?
That's for you to decide.
We've presented the facts, the nuances, the complexities of his story,
But the judgment call, that's yours.
and that's what's so great about this show.
We're not here to give you the answers.
Yeah, we want you to think for yourself.
We want to spark a conversation, encourage you to engage with these issues and come to your own conclusions.
We've gone deep into the world of Martin Shkreli, the Pharma Bro,
The enigma.
the symbol of both brilliance and greed.
We've looked at his actions, his motivations, his legacy.
But the question is, grifter or gifted? That's one you have to answer for yourself.
So think about it as you go about your day. The people who shape our world, the systems that control it.
And when you come across someone who's rewriting the rules, ask yourself, are they doing it for good?
Or are they just in it for themselves?
The answer might surprise you.
Yeah.
It's funny, throughout all of this, I keep coming back to those students from Sydney Grammar School.
Yeah.
They weren't in it for the money or fame or anything like that.
Right.
They just saw this problem, a life-saving drug, being priced way out of reach for people who needed it. And they decided to do something about it.
They took action.
Yeah. And their story, it's inspiring.
They're so inspiring.
It reminds you that, change can come from anywhere.
It doesn't have to be these like big, powerful people.
Yeah, sometimes it's the people on the outside who are willing to challenge the way things are.
The ones who aren't afraid to rock the boat a little.
And they really threw a wrench into Shkreli's whole narrative, didn't they?
Totally.
Like he was saying he was just a businessman playing by the rules of the game.
But those kids showed that the rules are the problem.
Yeah, the system itself is broken.
They exposed that conflict between making money and taking care of people.
Which is at the heart of the whole pharmaceutical industry.
Exactly, and they did it with none of the bad intentions that Shkreli had.
It makes you wonder, what if Shkreli had used his brains for good?
Right. What if he had actually tried to make things better?
Used all that knowledge to make life-saving drugs more affordable?
That's the question. Could he have been a force for good in the industry? Or was he always going to end up as the bad guy?
It's like a what-if scenario.
I know it's hard to say. Maybe he started out with good intentions, but then got corrupted along the way.
The allure of money and power.
It's a classic tale, right? The line between genius and madness.
And that line gets even blurrier when you look at what he's doing now after prison.
He's banned from the industry, but he's still out there,
Still causing trouble.
online, stirring the pot,
Like he can't stay away from the spotlight.
even if it's as the villain.
So what is it about someone like Shkreli? Is it all about money and power? Or is there something more? Like a need to be noticed, to be recognized, even if it's for the wrong reasons?
It's a good question, and it goes beyond just him.
You see it everywhere.
People who push the limits, who break the rules,
And we're drawn to it.
the drama, the spectacle.
It's like we can't look away.
And that's why this whole grifter or gifted question is so fascinating.
We want to believe in people who are trying to make the world a better place.
But we have to be careful not to be fooled by those who are just using us.
Exploiting our trust.
So where does that leave us with Martin Shkreli?
Grifter. Gifted manipulator who gamed the system.
Or a misunderstood visionary who lost his way?
It's up to you to decide.
We've laid out the facts, explored the different sides of his story.
But you get to be the judge.
That's the beauty of it.
We're not here to tell you what to think.
We just want to get you thinking, to start a conversation, and encourage you to make up your own mind.
We've taken a deep dive into the world of Martin Shkreli, the Pharma Bro.
A man of contradictions.
A symbol of our broken healthcare system.
We've looked at what he did, why he did it, and what it all means.
But the question, grifter or gifted, that's for you to answer.
Think about it as you go about your day.
When you see someone pushing the boundaries, defying expectations, ask yourself, are they a force for good, or are they just looking out for number one?
The answer might surprise you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the complex world of Martin Shkreli.
We'll see you next time on Grifter or Gifted.